Paulette, it's absolutely a pleasure to have you on our show today. Thank you for joining us. Let's start by talking a little bit about you. Who is Paulette?
Well, I'm just a normal person. I was, like you said, born in Adelaide, and I come from a family of 8 children, so busy family life, and I'm a twin. I loved the Lord as a child, but something happened to me when I was 13, and I turned my back on God. But when I found him again, when I was 29, I absolutely fell so in love with him. It just changed my life, and I just went for it with passion and zeal. I run Rahab in Adelaide here, but of course Rahab is in many places in Australia, 23 other places in Australia, and we've started worldwide as well. 5 places in Brazil, 2 places in Mexico. And we run one in Germany, not that I've been there, but and Papua New Guinea as well. So it's quite a thriving ministry because the sex workers are everywhere. They're in every town and city in Australia. They're all over the world.
So let's just go back to a little bit about what Rahab is about.
Yeah.
What was it that made you decide you wanted to start this movement?
Well, I was in YWAM, but just before I was in YWAM, I went to Cambodia, and I was working on a boat of hope that went along the river with doctors and nurses to all these villages where, lions of Cambodian people would be ready, wanted to see the doctor, and it was great. But when they weren't doing it, I always found myself down at this place near the border of Vietnam and Cambodia, and the girls were smuggled across and sold for so little, and there was just so many girls just saying, hello, come to me, like that. And I used to just go, there's just so many girls working, and I thought, this is what I want to do. So I had to come back to Adelaide, and I thought, right, the first thing I've got to do is learn Vietnamese. And so I was venturing that way, but a woman said to me, Paulette, why don't you work here in Adelaide? No one is working with the sex workers here in this city. And something like a coin just went click into my spirit, and I just went, oh my gosh, what was that? And I've never been able to take it out. Like sometimes I wanted to take it out, but when God chooses something for you to do, you're best to stay until he changes that, because you've got to be in your sweet spot. Like when I'm speaking to girls in the sex industry, and boys sometimes, I'm in my sweet spot. Like I just love it, and I don't know why I got a gift to do that. But I mean, many people can talk to everybody, but I just have real compassion for the women and young men that are selling their bodies.
So what do you do to reach out? You said that you've got all this compassion. So when you're reaching out and you're ministering to them, what does that look like?
Well, I've got a van, and it's teams of volunteers. So I recruit volunteers all the time, because going into brothels isn't for everybody, and it has a use-by date actually. So people don't stay forever. Some stayed for 6 years, others only do it once, because it's quite hard to walk into a brothel and just see what's going on. You see a lot of nudity, you see a lot of drug taking, you see a lot of things that you don't wish to see. But I have actually had PTSD twice, and been quite run down, but I just get back up and do it. I don't know why. I just believe that's what God wants me to do.
Can you share a few stories of what you've experienced? So when you've gone out and you've ministered to some of these men and women, can you share a few stories about that?
Well, sometimes the street girls, so there's women that work on the streets as well, and we visit them every Friday night, and they're probably the hardcore cases. These women are sometimes coming out of the brothels, but because they're ravaged by the drugs, they're just complete drug addicts selling themselves on the street, and they're treated very badly. and just speaking to girls on the street, praying for them. I mean, sometimes we pray for girls and they go, please don't pray, because they know God's going to touch them. But they have to face taking it again. Do you know what it face going back to work? So the street girls, I've made friends with many of them, and I've just absolutely, I don't know, loved hanging out with them, going to karaoke with them. I've been to play at their houses where they live in houses where a horse could have been happy in their yard for a month because nobody's ever mowed the lawn, nobody's ever done anything. Lately I really like to give girls food when I see them and home cooked meals, because they receive a home cooked meal and they settle. Just the other day, I had a girl in the car, and every time I pick her up, she's got nowhere to live. She's couch surfing, and so every time I go to pick her up, she just jumps in my car and cries. But as she jumps in my car, she's actually bringing everything that she's got in my car. And I say, well, where do you want to go now? Where can I take you? And it's either to the brothel or to another person's place, like a friend. But they usually burn their bridges with all their friends, you could imagine. And many today are on ice. Years ago, it was heroin, but today, mostly it's amphetamines, which is ice. And the women I'm speaking to right now, they're on about $300 a day. So it's quite huge, and usually they've got someone, like a boyfriend or something, that they're providing drugs for. So they just feel, I don't know, they just got to keep working. And so many of the street women have died. Since I've worked in Rahab and working on the streets, so many of them have died. The brothels are a little bit different. The girls are looked after better, but they're really quite toxic places, because the girls, of course, they've just got to get up and go for the intro, and the women don't even really want the job, but they know they've got to have a job, so.
That sounds really exhausting. Gosh, how hard must that be? What an incredible woman you are to be able to do that.
I probably sounded exhausting talking about it, but
So is this a passion that you love to do? It's your heart's desire, or is it something you feel like, well, there's a need and you've chosen to do it?
No, I like it, and I like it when the women phone. Like, I'm getting up in age now, but I think I could be 80 and still take the phone, because when the girls call, I actually like just curling up my knees underneath my bottom and just go, okay, so where are you at? And what's your greatest need? And you just start from there, and it's lovely. But of course, we have no accommodation. We have got plans for accommodation. Most of the girls, they're homeless. So this particular girl, she was working in a brothel in this city, and Rahab came in and left roses. They gave the girls all a rose each, a fresh rose. And this girl, she was working at the time, so when she went into the girls' room, she saw the roses and the card that says need someone to talk to. And she wrote on our webpage, she goes, I found your roses in the girls' room that I'm stuck in. Your website resonates with me. I need someone to talk to. I need to find God again. And this one wasn't so long ago. Just on our webpage, he said, gay male trapped in the sex industry. I see you help women in such situations. Can you also help me? So I've been dialoguing with him, but because he's from another state, I've actually today even just got someone else to dialogue with him, because it's very important. And then some people through the webpage, they'll say they care for someone that's in the sex industry. And one said, please pray for Joe. Joe is involved in prostitution, stripping, drugs, abusive relationships and fraud. Please pray for her conversion. There's so much pain out there with these women being on so many drugs. And if they're not on drugs, they're drinking. They smoke cigarettes. But the girls in the brothel love all the gifts we give. They look forward to us, because you can't really go to a door of a brothel with the Bible under your arm. You've got to actually go in and just, we take a gift and can we go to the back room, please, because we want to talk to the girls and we've got gifts for them. And we're very well received.
Wow.
In over 100 places in Adelaide.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's also in other states. It's all around Australia in every state.
No, we were in Darwin and we were in Perth, but we're no longer. And but we're in Tasmania, New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland.
How big is that industry? Because we see it on media a lot, and it's really glamorized. It seemed to be quite a reputable job, but in reality, is that the truth?
No, women don't want to be that slab of meat for someone's gratification. No woman does. We weren't designed to be that. Women were designed to be loved and men to love women and women to love men. But because, the world is at a place where it is, and pornography's got a lot to answer for, they say it's absolutely horrendous what they have to do in pornography. And it's just wrong. We're not animals. Do you know what I mean? God is love. I mean, if you love somebody, you would not want to see them do porn. And you don't even want to see our husbands or any of the men folk watch porn. It just sets them off. And like one woman, she said to me, "What do I do, Paulette? What do I do? I've been married to this man for 40 years. I've got grandchildren coming on a Sunday. I love my family coming around. And we have a Sunday lunch. What am I to do? Am I to leave my family home? Where does it put me?" Do you know, it puts women and men, because evidently there's quite a few women watching pornography now, in a predicament that they don't want to be in.
So recently there was a bill that was put forward to Parliament about the decriminalisation of the sex workers.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that? Are you for or against that bill?
I'm against decrim because what it does, it says to society that going to a prostitute is okay. It's okay. Being a man, you can go to a prostitute if you want. It's legal. And in Cambodia, it was just unbelievable. The men, they used to just go home to their wives and say, "Honey, I'm just going to the brothel." I mean, do we want that here in Australia? Do we want, because what happens is that women end up dying on the inside. So it's not right. And what we want to do is bring in the Nordic model. The Nordic model, you have to actually find out about it a bit, but it really prosecutes the man from going and paying for sex. Because most of the women are trafficked in and they don't want to be there. So even in Holland, where the red light area was in Holland, the government found out that most of the women in the windows were actually trafficked and didn't want to be there. So therefore, a lot of places now have closed down. There probably is a very small section now of the women in the windows, because women don't want to be in the windows. They don't want to be just on display. Most women want to be mums and have a job or, married to someone that loves them. I mean, it's ideal. We all want that for our children. You want that for your life.
Back to the decriminalisation bill.
Yeah.
I had a friend once say, "Oh, but wouldn't that be a good thing because then the girls and the men in the industry get more protection?"
Yeah, but they can get that protection now. If they can go to a doctor if they want to now. They think it's going to be more protection, but it's not. And that's been proven in New Zealand, in Victoria, in New South Wales. They know that it adds nothing to the girl's life. They think they're going to be freer, but they're not going to be any freer.
Yeah.
And they're not being arrested now unless they've got a warrant out for their arrest. They're not being arrested now. The police aren't going into the brothels. And also, if it's decriminalised, the police will never go back into the brothels unless there's a complaint. So underage trafficking can flourish. What keeps me going is the call of God. When God dropped that penny, whatever it was, into my spirit, until he takes it out, I'll keep going, because God knows only how much I can take. But, and someone will take it over. I'm sure they will. And it'll just grow from there, because an organisation like Rahab needs to be in every town and city in Australia. I've got a passion inside of me to see it grow. And I've also got a passion to see the Nordic model, which is the human rights model, come in. And also it's called the Coming Home Project, and we want to get a farm so the girls can come out and live there and feel and get some sort of restoration before they go back into the public eye, so to speak.
So what does the future look like for Paulette?
Well, I'd like to do a bit more travel, and possibly not for Rahab though, just to go to places. I'd like to go back to Tromsø, which is in the Arctic Circle in Norway, absolutely, the princess town. I always ask God if I could go back there. I'd like to see my twin sister and just enjoy life, really, and serve him any way I can. I believe God has something else for me. Once somebody fills that position, God will have something else for me. It just won't be as busy.
So you're a mum and a grandmother as well?
I am, of 5 grandchildren, 2 children. I had a son and a daughter, and 5 grandchildren. And it's the highlight. Really, I love my grandchildren. It's actually a reward. It's a reward for being a mum,
Yeah. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paulette, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure chatting to you and getting to know more of you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Living Proof.